But let me ask you, because you mentioned about implementation. So the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff said today that he and Jared Kushner have already begun working on the implementation side of the peace deal between Israel and Hamas. I mean, Hamas. But the question to you is, do you think it was... why do you think Bibi Netanyahu did not go to Sharm el-Sheikh, having been invited to do so?
I think it was a historic error that he wasn't there, and I think that he has both internal political calculations to make. This is the eve of the Simchat Torah holiday, when it's forbidden, according to Jewish law, to travel. So he used that as the excuse. His office or people around him also said that President Erdogan of Turkey had threatened to withdraw from it if Netanyahu showed up. We don't know. I think it would have been uncomfortable for Netanyahu to be there, and it was a historic opportunity. Had Netanyahu been ready to cross a bridge in recognizing that the only solution to this conflict is a two-state solution, and that message would have been very strong at the meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh, because every leader who was there today, I'm sure, is telling President Trump that you can't talk about peace between Israel and Gaza. You have to talk about peace between Israel and Palestine. We've all recognized the state of Palestine. It's time for the Americans to understand that the two-state solution is where we need to move. Netanyahu is not going to be the Israeli leader who's going to do that. And I think everyone knows that, unless a miracle happens and Trump's pressure on Netanyahu, his influence on Netanyahu, it pushes him in that direction. But that doesn't seem very likely at this point.
So in that case, there's not a huge amount of hope, because President Trump is President Trump, the President of the United States, who has the only major leverage over Israel and including their Prime Minister. So, some are concerned, certainly in Arab...
No, I don't agree, Kристиан.
No?
I think that there is reason for hope, because I think there's reason for hope. First of all, this war is over, and it's really over. It's not going to renew. And Hamas is not going to be playing the major role that it played in Gaza anymore. They will not be the government, and the question of what to do with their arms will be dealt with. But Hamas doesn't really have an effective army anymore. They can't really threaten Israel anymore. If there are no Israeli soldiers in Gaza, the Hamas fighters have no target to shoot at. And there will be the option of some of the Hamas commanders deciding to leave Gaza with their families, with the promise of amnesty that the Americans are providing. The wider picture of dealing with the Israeli-Palestinian question is there, and it's in the international community. And the isolation that Israel has been feeling as a result of the war crimes that it's committed in Gaza will not disappear overnight. If there is a refusal of the Israelis to move forward toward some kind of reasonable peace process with the Palestinians, Israel will feel that isolation more and more, and that will impact our elections. And if the Palestinians hold elections before Israel, and if by some miracle they elect a leadership which reaches out to the Israeli people and say, we don't want to fight you anymore, we want to live in peace, we will have a dynamic change of the electorate in Israel as well.
So do you think, غيرشون, that, first of all, who do you identify as that leader on the Palestinian side, having worked so hard on all of this? And do you think Marwan Barghouti, who is jailed and wasn't one of those who was released, do you think he should have been? Is he the kind of political leader you would think, as an Israeli, despite what he was convicted for, would serve this purpose at the moment?
I know Marwan very well. I know him from 1996. I worked with him intensively over a period of years when back-channel negotiations were going on permanent status. I've been in contact with Marwan over the years through his family and his lawyer. And for a year and a half before the war, I conducted a correspondence between Marwan and one of the former heads of the Israeli Shin Bet. They managed to exchange letters 5 times before the war began. Marwan's last letter was a 4-page letter detailing how he viewed Israeli-Palestinian peace on the basis of a two-state solution with a regional economic and security framework, an envelope to provide both Israel and Palestine with the economic and security needs that they both have. But Marwan has been in prison for a very long time. Over the past 2 years, he's been tortured, he's been abused, he's been in solitary confinement, he's been starved, and we don't know how that affects his psyche. Right. I wrote to Witkoff more than about 2 weeks ago detailing who Marwan is and the background, about his trial, about what most Palestinians think about him. I was asked to what the mainstream Israelis think about Marwan, and I brought the opinion of about 20 senior Israelis, former military people, generals, a couple of prime ministers, heads of the Shin Bet, heads of the Mossad, Not everyone agreed, but the majority was that Marwan needs to be released.
All right.
I think that the Israelis need to engage him in a political discussion, and he needs to be released.
Well, we're into phase 2, so we'll see what happens. Thank you so much, Gershon Baskin.